Was probably around like 11 at the time, and I just wanted to be in the best shape of my life. I really wanted to, I had my sights set on D1 tennis, and I just wanted to be the best person I could be in the physical realm. So I took that to like very intense heights. I was doing tons of exercise, tons of training for that. And then at the same time, I think at around like 12 or 13, I was diagnosed with celiac disease. And essentially what that is an autoimmune condition that you can't have gluten. Like actually can't have it. I had it one time in Copenhagen. I was ruined. Can't have it. And so that set this, I guess, notion. And the weirdest thing about that for me was usually a lot of people have symptoms. Usually you have a lot of GI issues, you have like insomnia, like just a lot of negative things kind of going on in your body. I didn't know. I had no idea I was celiac. And so that was the first taste for me being like, oh my gosh, my body isn't talking to me. Something's wrong. And I took that to the nth degree. And I was like, my body's not telling me anything. It's wrong. It doesn't know what it needs, blah, blah, blah. So I took my training to way too far. I took eating clean, quote unquote, way too far because I didn't trust my body because it didn't tell me what was wrong in the first place. So I took clean eating, I took exercise
What did you mean your
way,
body
way.
wasn't talking to you?
Well, I couldn't tell if I was doing anything right or wrong. Like celiac had no symptoms for me. And the doctors were like, yeah, if you keep doing it, like it's not going to look good. You're not going to absorb any nutrients. Your body's going to go into like a severe deficiencies and all these things, which little did they know I was already in deficiencies because I was so under eating and trying to eat clean. And so that kind of manifested into its own eating disorder. Now in the DSM, I think it's been released. It's called orthorexia. But when I had it, it was classified as anorexia because orthorexia didn't exist. Orthorexia is an obsession with clean eating and exercise, which I see so much in the space today. Like the amount of people on social
Yeah.
media preaching more or less the orthorexic approach, and I can just see right through it because been there, done that. I have those like sensors, I guess. But it's just so dangerous because it seems so innocent in the beginning and it's such a slippery slope. So I slid all the way down that slope. I was in inpatient treatment for about 6 or so years, living in hospitals around the country, just bopping around. Every time I finished one stay, I would get out, relapse, and go to another place. That was my life for like 6 or 7 years at this point. And so college dreams of D1 totally went away. My actual
So when
college
you say
dream,
relapse, like, were you
yeah.
thinking that this was actually like an addiction?
Well, yeah, that's more or less like how the brain chemistry works. So it's like people have their
Mm.
own vices. So it could be alcoholism, it could be self harm, it could be whatever it is. Mine happened to be food and exercise because it's never about the food. With an eating disorder, it never is about the food. It's always about what that means. So for me, it was control. I had no control in any other area of my life. I didn't even have control over my body. So the only thing I could control was the food. And so I latched onto that. And that's kind of where all of this, I guess, stemmed from, was like lack of control. So it could have been any vice, I guess, but my genetics, I guess, life circumstances, perfect storm, more or less, for me to develop an eating disorder. So
Mm.
that really was just kick in the face for me. I was like, I was in denial for a while. I didn't think it was real. And then when reality started hitting that my dreams were no longer a thing, like I trained so hard for a D1 tennis and couldn't do that anymore. It wasn't medically stable enough. I was in the hospital. I vividly remember one specific time because my memory is really hazy from that time. I was not doing too well. But I vividly remember one time, and the nurse came in and she's like, she told my dad, she goes, you might want to say goodbye to your daughter. And I heard that. I was like, whoa, wait, what do you mean? And she's like, her heart rate is so low, you
No
could lose her
way.
at any moment. Yeah. So that happened a couple of times, probably 3 times. I know my heart rate was like ridiculously low, and it didn't hit me. It didn't hit me that hard until I started regaining consciousness again. Like my body started working. Because if you're not feeding yourself, your brain has no food. I was running off of nothing, and I was just a zombie, more or less, of who I was. And so looking back, I'm like,
So
I
what were
don't
your
know.
eating habits?
I just wasn't eating. Even if I was eating something super clean. So like
Like,
I would make like bone broth with like
mm,
cabbage, and that's like what I would eat for like lunch after like a 3 hour tennis session and like 2 hours
whoa.
at the gym.